classic. Season 18, 1 minute left in quali. We've already had the AM class complete their session. It's Kiss Army taking pole by a whopping 4/10 of a second, although no cars between himself and P2 Big Rigs at this point. Meanwhile, Sly improves with a 159.542. He puts him 3/10 up on Truo's gamer at the moment. Ruben Lubb just behind Sly now, back in pit lane. He's done and dusted, will jump on board with Truos as he makes his way out of 130R down towards the final chicane. He's lifting, so not an improvement on this lap, but we'll wait and see. Does he go again? Does he call it a day? Looks like he's trying to maximise the exit here. Coming out of the final corner, no, he's done as well. So, Sly and Truos calling it a day. Riven back in pit lane as well. Mustard up in 4th. A brilliant performance once again by the Pro-Am. 2nd in the championship, I believe. Truos, he's got the Pro-Am placard today. He is a pro driver, so just pretend that's white. Hudson up to 5th. Evil fighting through 6th, 2nd in Pro-Am, currently leading the championship, coming under heavy fire from teammate Mustard at the moment. The two of them have been going at it all season as he makes his way through the hairpin and in towards the second half of this lap. Meanwhile, it's Nash currently in 7th, Chris last of the pros in 8th. We're going to pretend I wouldn't be behind him if I was racing. Regan 9th and Cthulhu currently rounding out your top 10. So we make our way out of these, out of Spoon Curve, I believe it is. Probably wrong, who knows. Charging down the back straight towards 130R. Evil last car on track. The timer has hit 0. This is it, the very last lap of quali. All eyes on, all pressure on. Let's see what he can do. Right on the brakes, hops the chicane, hops the curb on the outs on the second part. Does he take it tight? Keeps it nice and tight. A little bit of oversteer as he comes through to cross the line. Where does it put him? No improvement. Yes, improvement. Maybe improvement. Yes, improvement up to P5. He will be starting directly behind, almost alongside Mustard in the Nova Sport car, Evil in Nova Saludo, although he does run the team. We'll see whether Team Orders comes into this one. Hopefully not. Hopefully nice, clean, fair, fun racing from all. But it's Sly Visho, your pole man today, for this 70-minute cracker of a race we've got coming up. True Oz Gamer starts from the outside of row 1. Ruben Lubb from 3rd, Mustard from 4th, Evil from 5th, Hudson 6th. Nash there in 7th, Chris 8th, Krieger 9th, Cthulhu rounding out your top 10 still, Osmad in 11th, Adept in 12th. Then Kiss Army, your AM class pole, Big Rigs starting alongside him. Shamian at bottom of the Pro-Am field. Quite a distinct separation, which you don't get too often in Pro-Am and AM classes. But Ado 16th, Scary 17th, Jude 18th, Wolfdan 19th, Luke in 20th, Leatherby, a brand new member of the Australian Xbox Racing League for this round. So in and straight into the car. Ace Wolf in 22nd, Bantusk rounding out your 23 cars for this one. A slightly smaller grid. We've lost a few thanks to State of Origin being on. Who can blame him? I was quite tempted. But no, we're here. And it's 54 seconds to the race start. Just gonna play around. Haven't used the spectator menu for a while, so we're gonna see what we have available to us, just out of curiosity. Not very much. 'Tis but a shame. We'll deal with it though. We can handle it. have a look for Sly. There we are. Your race leader as we head off for the formation lap tonight. 70-minute race, night race around the wonderful Suzuka circuit. Very long, very tyre wear heavy even. Oh, we do have multiple camera options. I love these menus. Only the one above. It is a bit of a shame. We can deal with it. Yes, hope you're enjoying this live stream of Yaldara talks to himself while cars race around the track. It's good fun. Anyway, tonight we have just the one mandatory pit stop. 70 minutes, as I've mentioned about 5 times now. Alongside that, a mandatory pit stop, which we mentioned, it is for fuel only. So there is no mandatory tyres. You can take tyres still. I'd recommend it. It's very heavy, but it's going to be a brilliant strategy twist, strategy test, strategy challenge, one might say, for tonight's race. We're mixing it up this season. I was doing some planning before, looking at all the options. Track position is going to be key tonight, as Chris takes a lovely excursion through the gravel on the formation lap. That's not going to help his tyre wear all too much. So yes, tyre wear, big factor. Track position could be king tonight. It's going to be pretty hard to overtake. You're going to have to really play to the advantages of your car, with Lub and Truoz there in the Mustangs. Excuse me. We'll see how that plays out, whether they can use that straight line, whether Sly and Mustard in their Ferraris, even Evil from there in 5th in his McLaren. We're going to see if they will be able to hold off, build enough of a gap through the corners to hold off that Mustang straight line speed. So then, shaping up for a cracker. Heaps of strategy, heaps of fun, heaps of variation, heaps of drivers hungry for a victory, heaps of drivers keen to absolutely maximise their points with the reduced grid size for tonight. Let's get ready to go. No promises on being here for 70 minutes, by the way, just putting that out there for those watching, all 2 of you, if I'm lucky. We might need to call it a night early as the grid starts to form up. We bring it too wide as we head into the chicane. Oh, that's quite an excursion. We've got... who is that? We've got Ace Wolf, the grey BMW, NBE Racing, correct me if I'm wrong, but he is in the fence on the formation lap at 130R and back in pit lane. So chaos already before the race has even started. We've got one of our AMs back in the pit lane after crashing on the formation lap. We'll see whether he can fight his way back through. Anyway, we come now through the grid boxes, creeping up towards the line. Speeds limited to 70 kilometers an hour. The red light's on, and we are underway. Truoz, does he get the jump? Sly Visho looks to come across and does so comfortably in the lead as we head into turn 1. He sweeps across to the right through the first part and down hard on the brakes, sneaking our way back out of Suzuka. And meanwhile, Ace Wolf, the 992, to rub salt into the wounds, drive through penalty. Stop go 30 maybe even. We've all made it through turn 1 though. An absolute miracle after last season here, last time out here. Some may remember the carnage that happened on the start line and into turn 1. But we are through this time as we look at Ozmad in P10. Making his way through the last half of the S's. There's drama though. Nash GT in trouble. sorry, Nash GT and contact there was. We're just going to accept the fact that ACC is being a nuisance. Sorry, we had Nash GT. There looked like contact with Hudson. He's managed to recover, but all the way down in 16th. That's at least 10 positions lost. So drama early on. Disaster for one of our pro class contenders and pro-am class contenders actually this time around. Nash GT was looking strong, but that will put a dampener on things tonight. So sly leads from True Oz. He's slowly building out that gap. Let's see whether the Mustang can bring it back down as we head through the back straight down towards 130R. Evil has moved his way up to 4th, jumping Mustard early in proceedings here. Meanwhile, Chris hanging around in 6th, not quite close enough to get much done as we watch the rest of the field make their way through 130R. Kiss Army looking kind of close, not really. Big Rigs in the background there. Looked like he was on for a chance for just a moment, but relatively single file, relatively calm, all things considered, based on, you know, the last few starts. Relatively calm start. And Shamian and Hudson in pit lane. Hudson looks like he's parking up. Jude, Ace Wolf. We've got scores of drives in pit lane. No pit window. Hudson returning to garage, so he's got too much damage. That's going to put him a long way out of this one. Shamian with damage, obviously. Jude with damage. Ace Wolf forced through a stop-go 30 for speeding in pit lane off the start, so his day goes from bad to worse. So already the interesting strategy. Shamian looks like he's just stopped for a bit of fuel, clears his mandatory pit stop. He's now got an hour and 10 minutes, pretty much, an entire race on a full tank of fuel. We'll get a huge undercut benefit though out of the traffic. We'll make that interesting. We'll keep an eye on him. Remember that one when he sneaks his way up the order later on tonight. Osmad looking a little bit close to Cthulhu here, and in fact has not gone past. Stressful job. So we watch them head through Spoon Curve. Nash GT piling the pressure all over Dr. Krieger. Dropped some places at the start after contact with Hudson. Osmad with the Mustang straight line speed, getting incredibly close to Cthulhu through 130R. Can he be close enough for a move into the chicane? Not quite. What about Nash? Neither. Nothing doing at all. So once again, single file, nice and calm. Going to be some interesting strategies. We did mention that in the on the formation lap, and already showing themselves incredibly early on. Nash still piling the pressure on Dr. Krieger. We'll see if we can jump on board for a little bit. Maybe, if I'm lucky. I don't get paid enough to deal with these menus. There we go. Let's jump on board. All over the back of the Nissan GTR, dust in the foreground, more dust along the apexes as we smash the curbs of Degna 1 and Degna 2. We look to get exit priority, not quite strong enough to get a run on Godzilla. Accelerating out of the hairpin, and there you go. You just see the straight line speed, the acceleration of that Nissan GTR is quite something, I have to say. Got to be very careful on track limits here. Nash keeping it well within the white lines as Dr. Krieger runs a little bit wide. Potentially a track limit strike there, but nothing doing for Nash as we make our way through to 130R. Meanwhile, Chris has gone past Ferrari of Mustard, who's now off the track. Problems for Mustard. Not going all his way at the moment, coming under more pressure. Meanwhile, Nash GT, he's surely close enough for a move here on Dr. Krieger. Cthulhu in the foreground, pulls out, surely won't make the send. Nash on the other hand, no he does. He puts the nose in and there's contact. Krieger's backwards into the tyres. The rear end of that Nissan GTR is in the wall. Nash has, at least he's redressed, but disaster for the 321 and the 66. We saw it coming, we knew there would be a move, but just not decisive enough. Nash still stuck down at turn 1 and now back in pit lane. He is done and dusted. Race over for the number 66 Porsche. So we head back up. Krieger now finally tumbling down the order. We'll get a gauge on where he's ended up from this one. But horrible luck. Horrible luck. Meanwhile, it's the Novasport kind of teammates battling it out for position number 6 around the back, the south end of the Suzuka circuit. Way too proud of that alliteration. Excuse me. But Cthulhu in the Porsche 911 GT3R 992 looking to get the run on Mustard at Osmad. Take some liberties with track limits. Meanwhile, the gap from Sly Visho and True Oz out front has extended up to over 4 seconds. They lead side by side in the background between Adept and Big Rigs. The Bentley to the inside on the Nissan at 130R pulls it off. What a move. You don't see that often, and that was simply lovely. Meanwhile, Dr. Krieger, sorry, that was Osmad making the move. No, Big Rigs. Oh gosh, these make no sense. Krieger, meanwhile, has been off the circuit again, is now well down the order. So we jump back forward to this fight between Cthulhu, Mustard, Osmad. Meanwhile, Chris, piling the pressure on Evil, has set the fastest lap of the race. We'll keep an eye on that as well, as Osmad almost in the rear exhaust pipes of that Porsche as they kiss the curbs towards Degner. Krieger, meanwhile, taking his pit stop. Unsurprisingly, there'd be a lot of damage on that Nissan, the number 321, so let's see whether he can recover that damage, get himself into a good position. Chris, does he look to make the move into the hairpin? We wait and see. He chooses not to. The gap between Evil and Lub, meanwhile, seems to have stabilised at about 2 seconds. It's not really going anywhere. Sly Visho attempting to extend his lead. Meanwhile, we've got drama. Jude, one of our early pit stoppers, has gone around at Spoon Curve off into the gravel. He is a fair way off the circuit there as the leaders start to come through. He's going to have to wait a little while before getting back going again. Not sure exactly what happened there. We could potentially find a replay, but that's a later job because the action at the moment is absolutely brilliant. Cthulhu and Osmad. Osmad pokes the nose at 130R. Does he go for it? Does he pull a Big Rigs? He decides not to. Probably the wise move. It's going to cost him a little bit of time. He's not going to be close enough at the chicane. Still putting the pressure on those. He misses his apex ever so slightly. Something we didn't touch on before as well. Track limit's going to be a big concern here. 3 strikes and then you're out. The policy employed in GT World Challenge, at least here in Assetto Corsa Competizione for tonight. 3 strikes and you're out. It'll be at the minimum a drive-through penalty for that, as Chris continues to pile the pressure onto Evil. Driving Nova Saludo this season after Slavisha and Mustard took out the team's trophy for Nova Saludo, promotion up to Nova Sport, much deserved, and looking at the possibility of replicating that performance this season. Mustard finding incredible speed, looking to do the double straight from Am up to Pro-Am, but struggling a little bit for pace against his main title rival Evil, who's only one car in between him, who runs wide now. Chris to the inside. Cthulhu, meanwhile, well off in the background. And Ozmad, I wonder if there was contact there. It's always a possibility at this tight, twisty track. We'll wait and find out, potentially, if we look at the replay, if I've got the energy. But no, he drops down to 8th place now. Bit of a drama. Chris, he's got to be close enough this time around. He is absolutely got to be. Pulls out of the slipstream. The Aston Martin comfortably got the straight line speed and pulls back in, almost contact as they run into 130R, but he runs a little bit wide. Evil will look to fight back. Can he do it around the outside into chicane? No, Chris last late breakers, but he's off the road. There's drama. Chris off the road, cuts the chicane, gives back the place. All that hard work of the last 15 minutes down the drain. Simple as that. He's going to have to do it all over again. Brilliant action. Brings Mustard all the way. Drags him straight back into this fight. All of a sudden, Mustard and Evil, the Pro-Am Championship rivals, within merely a couple of seconds of each other. And Chris now, he will have... How much of those tyres has he used? Is it too much? We wait and see. So make their way through the S's once again here on lap number... Who knows? Lap number 7 of a lengthy race tonight. I do love to keep an eye on these the lower battles as we get further into this race, but it's just impossible to take your eyes away from the Nova Sport versus Spirit fight between Evil and oh lol, it's Chris. Ex-League admin versus not ex-League admin, still a League admin, but not for much longer, is our beloved Chris. Can he take with him some nice parting gifts? We take a look a little bit further down the order. The fight for 12th is on. Ado starting to pressure Adept Loser, who lost some positions after that early scuffle. Just trying to make some ground back. Not quite close enough. Let's see whether Chris, not quite an opportunity this time at 130R, as he mounts the curbs in that hungry Aston Martin Vantage. And across the line once again to complete the 7th lap. The gap out the front still just 1.6 seconds covering the top two. Meanwhile, Riven Lub a little bit further back, 5.9 seconds as Chris pulls out in towards turn 1, sends it down the inside, gets it done. Evil tries to stick it around the outside. Not quite going to be enough. Can he get the exit to fight back into the first part of the chicane? Doesn't look like it. Chris, this time around, gets the move done, doesn't outbrake himself, and it's position number 4 for the Aston Martin. Now, does this open the door for Mustard is the big question. Can he keep Ozmad behind him for long enough to get ahead of Evil? Through the Degners, out towards the... Oh, Ozmad running wide in the second of the Degners. That is almost guaranteed to be a track limit strike. He may have lost enough time. Who knows? Who knows with ACC? But we'll see whether that comes back to bite him a little later on in this one. already lost a couple of cars from tonight, Nash being one of them. Not sure who the second to leave is. Ace Wolf still hanging in there despite that penalty, despite still having to serve the mandatory pit stop. I would love to know how much time Shamian's made up, but we're gonna have to wait a fairly long time, probably at least another 20-30 minutes before we find out whether that early pit stop will pay off. Was bad using. He looks more confident. He's using more of the track, but is that going to hurt him? As Mustard goes off, he now cuts the chicane. Osmad was a little bit deep as well. Drama. Could that be considered contentious? Was that leaving the track to hold your position? He made the mistake. He went deep. Osmad, a little bit of target fixation, followed him through. And it's action aplenty through the chicane. It's where it's all happening at the moment. The pressure mounts. You can see it. It's starting to force mistakes. The lack of experience from Mustard, 27, just his first season in Pro-Am, just his third season racing. Hasn't even been racing for a year yet. Look at where he is. Either way, holds on for now. But the pressure's still on. The gap between Evil and Chris rapidly expanding, with Chris finally able to use that fastest lap setting pace to set off after the top three, and Evil trying to stick with him, not quite able to do it, but he'll have to do his absolute best to keep Mustard at bay. The gap's opened up ever so slightly as Mustard has to defend from the charging yellow Mustang behind him. Ado, the gap between him and Adept has been seesawing rather dramatically from about 0.2 seconds up almost towards a second it would be now. He's just sort of hanging in there waiting for an opportunity to sneak his way past. But the action continues up front as we head across the finish line once again. Just a brisk 12 degrees here at around midnight Japan time. I don't know. You go loony talking to yourself eventually. I hope you're enjoying it so far, if there even is anyone here to enjoy it. Not much else happening other than these two battles here. Ado gets incredibly close, it looks like, through the first sector. Adept clearly struggling with some damage there. Tyres not behaving how he would like as we sneak through the first sector. Adept pushing really hard through the Degners. And he's opened that gap up back to almost 2 seconds. So must have been a moment for Ado there that we didn't catch, or maybe we did and I just didn't. Who knows? Big Rigs meanwhile, 0.8 seconds now to Cthulhu. That gap is dropping and it's dropping fast. The Porsche known for not being the kindest to its tyres. And maybe that is starting to show. As the big boat Bentley charges him down. Meanwhile, the gap for fifth has come down dramatically from over 2 seconds. Mustard now almost into the back of Evil through the final chicane and onto the main straight. Just 0.7 seconds, even less it'll be as we cross the line. Evil, a bit of a moment clearly, and it's almost brought him undone. No. So the teammates, the title rivals, bit of both. Evil will be wanting to go one up on his consecutive runner-ups for that title. Really desperate to get it done this season, but Mustard, with other plans, trying to put the pressure on him. Bantusk, meanwhile, looks like he's in for his pit stop. Can he get a bit of an undercut benefit? As Osmad also continues to put the pressure on Mustard. This is turning into an absolute pearler of a fight for position number 5 on the road. The lead in Pro-Am, might I add. Really cool to see the different strengths of these cars. The McLaren nifty through that first sector, and then Ferrari, Mustard in the Ferrari. The mustard and purple Ferrari, strong through the Degners, and the hairpin starts to make up a little bit of time as the gap to Osmad builds behind, and then out of Spoon, down the straight, through Degner and the chicane. Osmad really closes in and puts that pressure back on Mustard. But as they say, offense, the best form of defense, and Mustard will be looking to do that here as Evil runs slightly wide. Does he have to lift? He might have. Mustard shows the nose, but thinks better of it. He's certainly going to be proactive tonight. He's not going to sit around and wait for Osmad to get something done, as Truoz from second on the road. The gap was about 2 seconds, so he's come in a little bit early, all things considered. Obviously looking for that undercut. Let's see what he can do. Does he take tyres? That's going to be possibly the determining factor. He's sitting there for a while. One would surely think no. So fuel only for Truoz, the number 28 Mustang. Second in the race overall, taking only tyres. Sorry, only fuel, not only tyres, taking no tyres. And it's come out just behind Wolfdan. Now, Wolfdan will likely give this position, but he doesn't have to. He's not obliged to. There's no blue flags. Just because you've completed your pit stop doesn't mean you have right of way over those who haven't. Truoz also will have to handle the tyre warm-up. No, not the tyre warm-up, because he's not on fresh tyres. Excuse me. It's been a long day. As Wolfdan now pulls over, as predicted, to let Truoz by through the end of the first sector. As he will have to fight through some traffic, but it's a bold call. I like it. I love a bold call. Simply lovely. Evil now runs a little bit wide. We can't go on board with Mustard, but we can go on board with Evil. Do we want to be on board with the losing car? Maybe he's not going to be the losing car. Let's see. We go on board. We're 3 wide, almost. I'm sorry that I don't know these menus. We're almost 3 wide through Spoon Curve. Mustard runs wide. No, not through Spoon. Through 130R. Mustard runs wide. Osmad looked to put his nose in. Couldn't quite do it. Mustard, though, heavy over the curbs. He's not got the greatest run. Osmad almost alongside, out of the chicane, down onto the main straight. Osmad close, but is he close enough into turn 1 to get something done? We will wait and see as they charge down towards turn 1. He pokes the nose. He pokes the nose a little bit more and is a little bit early on the brakes. Just nice and safe. He knows it's a long race. There's still 45 minutes to go. Doesn't want to force the issue when there's not something happening. And so it's as you were for 4th, 5th and 6th once again. But this battle is turning into an absolute belter. Ado, once again, sneaking up to the back of Adept. He looks to poke the nose coming out of turn 1. Can he get alongside? He does. The squeeze is on and bails out of it. Probably the wise move. Has Adept gone a little bit deep, though? As we come through the rest of the S's, Luke, meanwhile, in pit lane for his mandatory pit stop. We're seeing a couple of early stoppers. We'll probably see a few more of those who really want that undercut. You've got to come in probably the next 4 minutes. Otherwise, you're just making a generic halfway stop. That's no fun. Dept a little bit wide. Gets Taylor. Does Ado poke the nose? Doesn't, but he has the run. Does he have enough of a run as we come up towards the hairpin through the right-hander? Not going to be close enough, but the pressure really starting to mount on the Nissan as he now runs wide. Ado pulls alongside, but not for long. And we head back towards this battle again for the Pro-Am lead. Evil once again takes the inside. Mustard once again looks to the outside. He's not going to be close enough this time. He's slightly slow. Osmad gets alongside. There's almost contact. Now to the outside goes Osmad at the chicane and gets it done before the braking zone even finishes. He's through before the corner's over, really. And all of a sudden, it's Osmad second in class. Mustard, from fighting for the lead, has dropped back to third. Evil now with a bit of a points buffer. This could be vital come the end of the championship. 10 points between them. But does Osmad have anything to say about that? Will he protest the Evil lead and get the Evil out of the way? Yeah, I'll retire now. Back to the Lexus versus Nissan battle. The gap slightly larger as we head into turn 1 this time. A lot larger, actually. But Adept, once again, deep. Not close to get it done. Mustard already dropping towards a second. Osmad, all of a sudden, he's in trouble. Osmad in trouble. Mustard gets back past. There's almost contact. Osmad off the road through the gravel. As we head out of Degner 2. They're side by side now. I was just saying Mustard's dropped off the back. All of a sudden, he's putting pressure on Osmad, trying to take back that second in class. They almost touch into the hairpin again. All the while, Evil getting away as they head side by side out of the hairpin and through the sweeping right-handers, flat through this whole section. Can get a bit bumpy if you're on the inside. Hence, the sweep to the outside. Looks after the tyres a bit as well. They come back through Spoon Curve all the way from the right. Flicks it through to the left. Osmad looks good through there. Mustard slightly wide. Has Osmad missed his apex though? Does he pick up the throttle too early? He may well if he goes over the white lines. I don't quite know where track limits is, but he's going to be very, very close to that as we head to 130R, but the Mustang straight line speed gives him all the protection he needs to hang on to position number 2 in class for now. Ace Wolf finally making his mandatory pit stop. The top 11 all still haven't stopped as this battle rages on. I know we've been here the whole race, but how can we not? You cannot turn your eyes away from this ongoing fight. We're going to give you a lap on board in the Mustard 27 Ferrari. So, from the driver's eye, please enjoy. Chaos. Mustard gets back up to P5. Osmad is around. He's surely gone into the fence. He's dropping down the order. Only loses a handful of seconds, but all that hard work, pressuring Mustard, sticking there, looking to go for the lead, and now it's disaster. He's back to third. He's at least 5 seconds behind that leading battle. All the hard work undone, he's going to have to do it all again, but we know he's capable. Is there damage? Has he got damage? How much damage? How much is that going to affect him? Has he hurt the tyres now? Does he have to take tyres? How much does this change the plan for the number 351 Ford Mustang? We will wait and see. Chris, meanwhile, just 4 seconds away from Leuven Lub as it gets worse again. Salt in the wounds for Ace Wolf. Another stop go 30. Speeding in the pit lane once again. Ozmad into pit lane on the pit limiter. Nice and tidy. So we jump back on board with Mustard. Just 2 seconds between himself and the lead of this race. As we catch a glimpse of what's going on further back in the field. Scary starting to put the pressure on Kiss Army, whose lap times look like they've dropped off just a little bit. Truoz right in behind this battle. He's going to be dreading the fact that he pitted early as he has to fight through this traffic. So we see if we can jump on board as we get Cthulhu as well into pit lane. A few more. Truoz stuck behind Adept. He won't be happy about that. Hurting his chances of a victory here tonight. He needs to get past Adept quickly or it's not going to help, as Adept almost does the work for him as he runs wide, loses the rear at Degna 1, loses control at Degna 2 through the gravel. Truoz, a bit of a gift. It was coming, no doubt about it, but makes the life all the easier for Truoz to try and claw back that margin to the race leader, Sly Visho. Scary, meanwhile, still putting the pressure on Kisami in the beautiful 68 McLaren Skardner Motorsports. They've put out an absolute belter of a livery. I have to say I'm quite a fan of it, and it's looking to go for the class lead. His teammate Gardner is not here tonight, unfortunately, for their team's championship. But that has no bearing on Scary's performance. He will want to absolutely maximise this. We do have one driver playing their Joker. I'm just going to go and check that for you. Make sure everything is going all okay. Scary into pit lane. So, had enough of watching the rear of that red Ferrari and is going to try and get the undercut. Just the one Joker. It was Shamian. So, obviously the plan from the start, box lap 1, get the undercut. He's now starting to sneak his way forward. He's comfortably in front of Ozmat and Cthulhu. At least 15 seconds. So there is every chance here that Shamian pops out in the lead of this race. We know Ozmat had damage though. We don't know how much that cost him. We didn't see the length of this pit stop. Why am I still watching this pit stop? So we watch Kiss Army charge around the Suzuka circuit through the Degnas at a rate of knots. Truoz closing in rapidly. It's not his fight. He'll look to let him go. As I mentioned earlier, Truoz, despite the red placard, is a pro driver. Slight coding error that we will most certainly have fixed for next week. 2.2 seconds, so looking at almost 2 seconds a lap, that gap. Meanwhile, Leatherby, haven't touched on him very much. I did mention he was new. He's now in pit lane, so we'll drop a bit down the order, but we'll have to wait and see where he ends up. Very neat and tidy debut so far. Same cannot be said for Ace Wolf. Meanwhile, Big Rigs, not sure what happened to him. Whether that's a disconnect or an incident that I've missed or an incident that I touched on and have forgotten about. Chris into pit lane from third as well. He was closing in on Riven Lub. The question now becomes, can he get an undercut on the Ford Mustang? We've got yellows as well. Wolfdan in trouble at Spoon Curve. I don't even know where his name is. There we go. As we catch him recovering now.
We are at the halfway mark. Keep
and
pushing.
As you hear from the engineer, halfway through this one, we'll have a look at the replay here, see if we can figure out what's happened to the wonderful Wolfdan, member of the several Star Wars teams we have, OTM obviously being his primary team with the Star Wars liveries for this season, adding just another layer of depth to this amazing racing league. So we catch a glimpse now. We'll see if we can go on board, and he looks as though he's just braked on the grass and all gone wrong from there. And yeah, looking to maximise the track and just gets a little bit too greedy on the right hand side, and that is a good night. Fourth down, he gets back into it though. He'll continue to push on. He's still in 10th, last of the cars who have not made their pit stop, but who knows how far up he might be. He might pit for tyres. It'll make for an interesting comeback later on through this one. We saw Chris pit. He's come out a long way behind True Oz Gamer, so have to say he was only about 10-15 seconds off the lead. So this could well have worked for True Oz. Sly held up by the traffic. True Oz enjoyed some clean air. As we check back in on our leader, making his way through the S's. Little bit more traffic approaching. Firstly, the 253 of Ado, followed by the 68 of Scary, the 295 of Cthulhu. These two were nose to tail, bumper to bumper, just a moment ago. The gap has crawled out ever so slightly as True Oz gets the move done on Kiss Army, clears another bit of traffic out of his way. He now has clear air for a very long time. This could be the perfect strategy for the season 18 debutant. Wasn't even here for round 1 or potentially even round 2. I don't know anymore. But he's making his mark and putting his name up for title contention despite missing those first couple of rounds. Enjoying the helicam, I hope. I don't even know how I've got us to it, but I'm not complaining. We might change soon. Who knows? I'm just enjoying myself. 1.5 seconds Cthulhu to Scary. That's probably your closest margin at the moment. Big Rigs he wasn't as far behind as potentially a disconnect as Ace Wolf. Could be serving his stop go 30. He may have just called a night, and understandably so. Just a shocker. Just not his day, have to say. But you never know with these things. Meanwhile, True Oz, your leader of those who haven't stopped. Second of those who haven't made their pit stops is Chris, followed by Shamian, who's starting to show that strategy might have paid off. Meanwhile, your race leader into pit lane. So, what does he do? Does he take tyres? Does he take fuel only? We're going to find out across the course of the next 30 seconds. He stops in his pit bay, the number 1 pit box now. The timer goes on. We'll wait and see. If it's 30 seconds or longer, he's taken tyres. If it's less, he's only taken fuel. We watch our leader now, who's making his way through the chicane. He's gained a whole heap of time. How much fuel did Sly Visho need? It looks like it's going to be too much. True Oz comes down the front straight. Sly Visho, leaving his pit box now, releases the pit limiter. He comes down the main straight. The two of them are going to be nose to tail here into turn 1. I'm just going to give up with these menus, man. I'm very sorry. What has happened? We need to know, one might say. And it's Sly Visho who hangs on to the race lead. The margin pretty much the same as it was half an hour ago. So True Oz, the bold gamble almost paid off. If Sly had needed merely 2 seconds more fuel, would have been a very different result. But here we are, the fight for the lead. Barely a second in it. With half an hour to go. True Oz, has he used his tyres? Sly, has he used his tyres? We know the Mustang can eat tyres, but if it's driven right, who knows? Could it be the play? You're going to find out here over the next hour. No, next half an hour, not hour and a half. I would possibly die if we were doing another hour and a half of this. Fortunately for me, fortunately for you, we are not. The gap still sits at about 2 seconds from Evil to Mustard. Just maintaining that, one of them will have to try something, or it's just not going to work for Mustard. He's got to try something different to Evil. What will that be? We'll find out. Gonna get us back into the better cameras. Just excuse the fact I've got to hustle through the replay mode. There we go. Problem solved. Love and life. Once again. Ruven Lub, known as Ginger Geo in the Discord, currently leads the race. He's had great success so far. Multiple wins, including a win on debut at Alton Park back at round 1. He's also represented the league with AXRL Novasport, driving Matilda in SRC's the proper one. They came an incredible 4th place at the 24 Hours of Spa just over a week, just over 2 weeks ago. A brilliant performance. I almost ended our race several times, but everyone else did a brilliant job. Kept it clean, kept it tidy, kept pushing. Some great strategy as well, especially from Ruven Lub here. Did really well in support myself through the planning, through the strategizing, and yeah, ended up with P4, an amazing effort. Anyway, Sly Visho, another one of those who was driving for AXRL Novasport, also driving for Novasport in this regular season. The main team, his teammate Mustard 27, he won overall last year, did Sly Visho. Some new competition this year from Ruven Love, from True Oz Gamer, and they are certainly giving him a run for his money after a rough start. Started with a DNF, of course, for Sly, and he's just been trying to fight back ever since. Will he be able to hold on for the next 27 minutes? Will he be able to continue his fight back to the top, or will True Oz rob him of the crucial points he needs to get those points back over Ruven Lub? He looks to the outside. Sly forced to defend into the chicane. True Oz comfortable using a lot more curb than that nimble Ferrari, the muscular Mustang, doing a great job, but a bit squirrely as we come onto the main straight, and he's not going to be close enough for a move into turn 1, surely. Tucks into the slipstream. Sly taking a slightly wider approach, and then True Oz looks to square it off. He seems to have the better tyres at the moment, maybe just manage them a little bit better in that clearer air, that less traffic. And it's now starting to pay dividends. Shamian up to the class lead with that bold strategy. Ozmad, class leader, those who have pitted, I should say. Ozmad just 3.7 seconds behind. It is entirely possible that he jumps even Evil and Mustard here. Ruven Lub staying out a fair while here, might just be going for the splash and dash strategy at the end of this one, as we continue to fight the battle for what will become the lead, continue to follow what will become the battle for the lead of this race. Just 25 minutes to go. True Oz almost pushing the Ferrari 296 out of the hairpin as the pressure continues to mount on the young champion from last season. Only 4 cars left to make their pit stop. No one really running super long into this one. We're only 10 minutes after the halfway. We'll have to wait and see how long Wolfdan, how long Mustard, how long Evil, and how long Lub go for this one. Scary, pressuring Adept. He's currently 2 seconds clear of the car behind, which puts him second in class. Kiss Army comfortably in the lead, at least a 17 second class lead for him, as we once again watch these leading pair come out. And just as we were talking about it, Mustard makes his way into the pit lane. This will be crucial. How will his outlap be? Will he jump Evil through the pit cycle? Does he take tyres? Does he take fuel only? And also, where does he come out compared to Shamian and Ozmad? Looks like also Osmad has taken tyres potentially here. As we go on board, we watch him come out. It is chaos out of the final corner. Cars going everywhere. We've got cars that are lapped. We've got cars that aren't lapped. We've got cars that have pitted. We've got cars that haven't, as Wolfdan makes his way into pit lane. Mustard exiting the lane now. And he is behind Osmad, behind Shamian. Don't think he was here long enough to take tyres, so he's lost out heavily to the two ahead of him. He's now, fourth in class. That also, it's warning signs for Evil. He needs to come in now. He needs to get this pit stop done, because track position is absolutely everything here. He's got to get in front of Osmad, who surely has fresh tyres. He's gained so quickly on your current leader of those who have pitted, Shamian. Meanwhile, Cthulhu picking up a drive-through penalty for track limits takes him out of 5th in class, will drop him down to at least 6th, potentially 7th and last of the runners today. As Osmad, he pokes the nose, decides probably the wise move to stay out of this one. Mustard just hanging around in the background, doesn't want to get too involved, doesn't want to get himself does want to keep his nose clean, doesn't want to get himself involved in any drama. The gap between Sly and Truoz out to 1.1 seconds, so he seems to have dealt with a little bit of that pressure, and as we said, it was vital for Evil to come in. He's done exactly that. Makes his pit stop at his box now, and he's out. He's out and gone. So, Mustard, almost, I guarantee you then, that he has taken tyres. So, Mustard, Osmad, both taken tyres. Shamian clearly hasn't. That's why that pace is there, but he's so far been able to hold up Osmad. And look at how close Evil and Chris are here. But Evil's absolute specialty, we know from past races, he is an absolute master of tyre management, and we're seeing that come in very, very handy now. With 20 minutes to go, he is in a commanding class lead. We'll wait for the official margins. It could be as much as 20 seconds. We will wait and see for Shamian to make his way through the timing split. He's still coming out of the latter part of the S's. Now he makes his way towards the Degners. We'll get a read pretty soon. It's got to be a huge margin for the class lead. So, there you go. 25 seconds. Osmad, meanwhile, practically kissing Shamian. Oh, and he's gone. There's drama. I've dropped my controller that it's so exciting. Osmad has once again come undone at the same spot as he did earlier tonight. He's hit the fence hard. There's damage on the Mustang from the chance to go for P2 in class. The chance to chase down 25 seconds in 20 minutes. And it's all gone. Over and not quite out for Osmad in the Mustang, but he's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to recuperate some of those spots. He's going to have to deal with AM class cars as well. Leaves Mustard with fresh air between... No, he's actually got a lot of traffic. Possibly. No, just the one car. And it should have blue flags. So one car and 2.8 seconds stands between Shamian and Mustard. That's for position number 2. If Mustard can get to there, it'll be the absolute minimal damage for the championship. It'll push the gap possibly out to 25 points. I will check my stats on that. The gap for the lead, however, just 0.5 seconds. Sly also a little bit wide. Truoz surely has been looking after those tyres a little bit better. I will just take a look at the standings. It's currently 23 points between them, so this would put the gap out to over a full race if Evil can take the win and Mustard if Evil can hang on to the win, the gap goes out to over a race. Blicky unavailable for this race. He does still have his Joker, but 45 points behind. It's going to be at least, if things stay as they are, it's going to put him 70 points behind as Sly runs wide. True Oz, though, hits the curb, potentially out of track limits there, and decides as a result not to make the send into the chicane. He's much more confident across the curbs, though. Has heard his exit speed as we head across the line. Just 18 minutes to go now. Can Sly hold on for all of those plus the lap extra? True Oz, he's looking. He looks hungry. He wants to get this move done, and he wants to get it done soon. He needs to get it done before staring at the back of that Ferrari causes too much damage to his tyres. I'm just going to have a look at where he is in the standings as well. He's up in 5th, missed the first 2 races. 30 points, no, 24.5 points between himself and Sly. About 40 points between him and our championship leader, Ruben Lub, who sits at the lead of this race, however, will have to make a pit stop. So we'll drop down the order a little bit to 3rd or potentially 4th, depending on how Chris goes. I imagine Sly and True Oz both wishing Chris forward now to try and get the position over Lub and set themselves both up to be in a better position come the back end of this championship to fight with your current race leader. Ace Wolf, as we touched on earlier, he has parked it up for the day, understandably. Unfortunate though, will be a DNF for the BMW. Mustard gets it down to 1.9 for position number 6, position number 2 in class, ignoring obviously that red placard that True Oz has because he is a pro class driver. And comfortably wide for True Oz, as now sticks it around the outside, nothing doing. He's pushing Sly Visho out of the chicane, and it's as you were, but a little bit closer this time around. Sly feels the need to defend now. He runs it all the way towards the grass. He now moves it back across. True Oz sends it down the inside from a long way back. He's wide. He loses the rear, but somehow he keeps control of the car and gets the move done. That was very bold, very brave. I like it. That was simply lovely, and in fact worthy of a replay. If it loads. Oh, we are lucky today. I'm gonna have to jump a fair way through here. Sorry. If only this was a little bit better to deal with. We'll jump on board with the 28. He was gone. He was absolutely gone. So he looked. Sly thought, no, surely he won't. And then he did. He was out of control from the moment he stepped on the brakes. Off the road. Losing the rear, but somehow managed to pull it up and ended up in front of Mr. Visho, and still holds on across the rest of the lap. In fact, is opening out the gap at a rate of knots. That then could be the pass for the race win that you have just witnessed and enjoyed several times over. Shamian closed that gap a tiny bit, but it won't be enough. Evil looks comfortable in position number 1 for his class. If everything stays how it is, we'll wait and see. True Oz, he does have some traffic. Traffic giveth, traffic taketh away, and it has giveth nicely. It has been very lovely and has cost Sly potentially a bit of time after all of that. No more traffic possibly for the rest of the race. We may catch Wolf Dan. I'd say that's just about it though. A smaller field today, but it is on for the podium in Pro-Am. Just 0.6 seconds in it. Shamian potentially has made a mistake. Mustard also just a generally quick bloke with those fresh tyres, putting them to good use, one would imagine. Is he going to try what Truos did just a lap ago? Not close enough this time around, but good to have in the back of your mind if you want to give it a crack. And yeah, Truos certainly building out that margin. The dirty air is horrific here, and yeah, he looks comfortable now to go and run away with this one. Chris, meanwhile, the gap just 12 seconds between himself and Sly. Not probably close enough for a on-track fight, but it will leave us very close to Ruven Lub, no doubt. So that will shape up when he pits, surely soon. Evil, though, seems to have played everyone with the strategy from fighting with Mustard, who is now fighting for second. He was fighting with Mustard just in front, and now has at least 20 seconds. Someone's off in the background. It looked like Leatherby, the 86 Aston Martin, and it is Leatherby off at Spoon Curve, running wide. Dr. Krieger now sneaking up the inside. He takes 16th away from the debutant and his red and white Aston Martin. We can't turn our eyes away for very long, though, from the Mustard Shamian battle. Mustard doesn't go this time around. He was looking very, very close. Now he's over the white line, though, surely picking up a track limit strike. The pressure starting to get to him. Two seconds. Truos to Sly. 2.7 now. It's looking a difficult task for Sly to get this one back. He had it all in his hands, and it just hasn't quite gone his way. Truos with a bold send. Sly did the responsible thing, kept his nose out of it, kept his nose clean, but it's going to cost him at the least 4 championship points, which could be the difference come the end of the season. He won't want the debutant to win. He'll be doing debutant to win the championship. He'll be doing everything he can to get those points back, but he may have to settle for third position today. So the battle rages on in towards the Degners. 2 Ferraris with Dr. Krieger, who is a lap down, so he's not allowed to get into this fight, but he will no doubt have the popcorn ready. He'll be enjoying watching this one from a safe distance. No doubt wants to give himself room in case something goes awry between the pair for seconds, as sounds like Queensland have scored their first try, and a good try too, apparently. Unfortunately, probably won't be enough for them, but one can dream, eh? One can dream. Please don't publicly flame me for that. If there's been anything in the chat, I am very sorry. I have not been looking at that at all. In fact, I'm going to go have a look at it now. There'll probably be nothing, but you know what? Might as well check. Yeah, nah. Nice, peaceful, empty, non-problematic chat. Can't complain. Hopefully you guys enjoy this on a replay or something. Who knows these days. 0.6 the margin. 0.4 now as we cross the line. Shamian over Mustard. They are slowly gaining on Evil, but it's never going to be enough. Not 22 seconds. Chris, though, Sly is really starting to struggle on those tyres. You cannot count Chris out of this one. It is 9.8 seconds, but we know the prowess of the Aston Martin master. We know how good he is. We know his experience. We know he'll have looked after those tyres well. Clearly Sly, slightly lacking on experience by comparison, and has had a huge fight for the lead, although Chris keeping his nose protected throughout this one. Shamian slightly wide at the Degners. Does it open the door for Mustard? We'll wait and find out as we head up towards the kink into the hairpin. Sly dropping rapidly from Truoz. He is now sailing away into the night skies. Chris, probably not going to be enough, but I'm not going to count it out. You never ever know with that number 77 Team Spirit Aston Martin. As we check in on our AM class leader, he's got Jude behind him, although a lap down, so no threats. He's got 4 seconds, to the next car as Jude well wide in the background. That's got to be a track limit strike. He's going to have to be careful to make sure he doesn't pick up any more of those. But yeah, Kisami comfortably out in front. A car between him and the second place in class. And no threat. He'll hopefully, for his sake, be able to just cruise into the evening. Seal it. Although, as we say that, Osmad has once again found trouble after just moments ago being behind Kisami by 4 seconds. You can see the sheer amount of damage on the front of that Mustang. He could well bring it into pit lane, or does he try and stick it out just 7 minutes ago? He's going to hang it out there, but there is huge damage to the 351 Mustang, so heartbreak for Osmad. He was starting to push his way back up. He would have had a chance if something happened in this incredible fight, but that will not be the case. The question now becomes, can he hold off from number 42 Adept Loser, just 5.5 behind, and Cthulhu, the 295, with that drive-through, is second last in class, in 6th, 15 seconds back, but you don't really know. He may have too much damage for that. So it rages on. Mustard versus Shamian. They make their way out of the hairpin again. Time is ticking. Mustard's going to have to do something soon. He cannot afford to settle for third if he wants the title this season. But he may be left with no option. So, Ruvenlub still yet to pit. He's certainly trying a unique strategy. Can't complain about the creativity. Chris, meanwhile, he's had an issue. He's dropped back about 4 or 5 seconds to Sly. Evil, gained about 4 seconds. So something's gone awry for Chris as Bantusk sneaks out of the pit lane in that, I believe, golden Mercedes. Mustard, he's surely close enough for a try. He looks to the outside, he pokes the nose, now to the inside. Does he go for it? Hard on the brakes. Into turn 1, not this time around. Still 5 minutes. He can still afford to bide his time, but he's forced the error. Shamian runs it wide. We thought we saw the pressure. We saw him poke the nose. He decided not to, but it was too much for Shamian to handle. Mustard reclaims position number 2 in class after a long fight with Shamian. He was patient. He just bided his time like an absolute gentleman. Just waited for the right time to strike. He got close enough. He put the pressure on. He forced the error, and bang, Nova Sport 1-2 in the Pro-Am class. Now, can he build the gap? Will there be pressure? And next closest battle, albeit for 17th, is about 6th in class. The fight between Leatherby, the debutant. Jude has been around for a little while, They do have lapped cars in amongst it, but that does not mean it's any less, especially with Leatherby running wide there. Traffic giveth, traffic taketh away. You would hope, for Ado's sake, that Leatherby does the right thing. He lets him go. Ado pokes the nose to the inside. There's contact. There's disaster. Leatherby from 6th in class. He's caught trouble. He's found potentially the fence. He's now very wide, out of the hairpin. It was contact between himself and Ado. He should have just let him by. I'm not gonna play steward here, but that seems so silly. If he'd just let him by, if he'd just been patient, if he'd just been wise enough to let Ado in the Lexus by, he could have held on to position number 6 in class, but instead it goes to Jude. He was putting the pressure on, make or break moment, and it has unfortunately for the 86 Aston Martin broken his race. That's just the things you learn with time, I guess. I don't want to be too harsh on the debutant. Managing traffic, managing those faster cars behind you, they're greedy, they want to get ahead. But yeah, it's just about learning to manage that, and it will come with time. We'll no doubt see him up the order in not too long. But yeah, rookie mistake, something everyone's done. At least he only loses one place. He's still he's still got Bantus behind him, as finally our race leader Reuven Love comes into pit lane, and you know what? He's going to hold the lead here. Reuven Love might just have pulled off an absolute strategic masterclass. He was 10 seconds behind, but the long run meant he needed probably about 10 litres, if not less, in the tank to get us to the end. And would you believe it, out of nowhere, Churros, we thought he'd done an amazing job. We thought he'd done it. It was a good strategy. It did get him the position on Slavisho that he wanted, but he's lost out. He's ended up where he was. He ended up where he was 10 minutes into this race. Reuven Lub, if he can hang on for the next minute 40, this could actually go close to the final lap. We're going to have not very long left when he comes across the line. Brilliant performance. We thought he was going to lose this position to Chris, but no, 6.5 second lead. Will Gio have the momentum, the confidence to make that up? Will Lub's tyres just be too far gone? Will he make a mistake? You never ever know in motorsport, but it's looking like it could go his way tonight. Adept now finally puts the pressure on Osmad with heavy damage, as we mentioned before, to the front of that Mustang. Godzilla versus Mustang, Ford versus Nissan. Can Adept sneak himself up to position number 4 in class? Can he get his points tally up to 13 out of this one? Well, he's got 1 or 2 laps, probably 2 laps, to try and get this move done. He'll surely have the pace. Does he go for it into turn 1? He doesn't look interested, and he sits behind. Does Osmad go deep? Does the damage force him wide? He's on the brakes for a very long time, but as we head back to the S's, he holds position to start the penultimate lap, and there you go. Reuven Lub comes across the line to start the final lap, looking as though Cthulhu there, just letting him by, doing the right thing, obeying blue flags, and also making sure he doesn't have to do another lap. We'll head back to this battle as, yeah, Osmad really struggling for grip. He's not going to be close enough to Reuven Lub, as Leatherby slow and dust behind, so potentially drama here. Let's see how he handles the blue flags. This could be what we were referring to earlier. The chance, the unfortune of being good. Almost left Reuven Lub in trouble, but no such issues for him this time. The gap between Osmad and Adept has just opened up slightly. He's not going to be close enough into Spoon Curve, but it's going to be all about the run. Definitely using more of the track. more confident, more comfortable, more grip. But will it be enough grip? The question remains as we head onto the back straight for the second last time. He's got pace. He'll have speed over Osmad through 130R. Probably not enough this time around as they tip to the left once again. Osmad well wide in the foreground, kicking up dust as he rejoins the track. And they will come around to start their final lap. Oh, he's gone. Osmad off the road once again through the gravel and drama. Was there contact? Adept looks like he's going slowly. He looks like he will redress. Or maybe not. Either way, Reuven Lubb, an absolute strategic masterclass. Third for a lot of this race. Stayed out when others pitted. And just a quick splash and dash at the end. A brilliant strategy. It sees him take victory in AXRL's round 5. The Suzuka Smash. I don't know. I didn't think about that one. Well, congratulations either way. Brilliant performance in strategy and True Oz. Well, he's happy but unhappy, I would imagine. We're going to head back, though, to the Adept Osmad situation. Obviously, it appears as though there was not contact because Adept has not given that position back. So Osmad all on his own under pressure, and it looks like he will have to settle for 5th in class. Anyway, a similar scenario for Evil. He stayed out a long time as he goes deep through the final corner, but stayed out a long time, took a quick pit stop while his teammate Mustard did everything he could with those fresh tyres to hunt him down. It's going to be Evil for Novus Ludo, who takes the victory in the Pro-Am class. Mustard comes across the line. Bantusk, he's rather happy for P19, and Mustard completes the Nova Sport 1-2. Brilliant effort by the duo. And there, Cthulhu, not quite the pace, but in the background celebrating. And Kiss Army now finally makes his way across the line. A dominant performance by the South Australian to take the AM class victory. Scary not far behind, but Kiss Army led for a huge portion of that race. And Ado in 10th, 3rd in class. His teammate comes across the line in 10th. Comes across the line now. So great points for SA Racing. You cannot complain if you're that duo. As Adept now completes the race for 4th in class. A huge effort by all involved. Thoroughly impressed, thoroughly entertained. I hope you have enjoyed the absolute barnstormer that was. Huge strategy plays. Just amazing to watch, really. We loved watching that one come together across the course of that one. The different strategies just made for quite an engaging race, I must say. Drama throughout, contact quite constantly as Evil enjoys a victory lap. What a race. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed AXRL Season 18 now we're up to. Round 5, that was the Suzuka race. If you would like to get involved, if you are on Xbox or PlayStation, Australian Xbox Racing League, our public server will be up very shortly. There's a Discord invite link there to get involved. We would love to see you on the grid. Normally we get even upwards of 30 cars on some days. But thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching. Congratulations once again to Reuven Lubb, True Oz Gamer, and Sly Visho. That was your podium. That was your overall podium. Evil taking out the Pro-Am win. Mustard in second. Shamian rounding out your Pro-Am podium. Kiss Army taking the AM win. Scary and Ado rounding out that podium. Hope you've enjoyed.